Funding for the World Food Prize was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television, the Iowa Public Television Foundation, and by the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust.
Each day, 925 million people in the world suffer from hunger. Every 10.5 seconds, a child under the age of 5 dies due to the effects of starvation. For those in need, the path to hunger relief is lined with hardworking and inventive people whose support is constant. Science, technology, and leadership are the proven keys to satisfying a universal appetite. Tonight, live from the Iowa Capitol in Des Moines, the 26th Annual World Food Prize honors those who've contributed to improving the quality and availability of food. It's a wet evening in Des Moines, making for a damp entrance for the many guests and dignitaries coming to the World Food Prize Laureate Award ceremony this evening. Much more of a dash from the bus or car into the state capitol than a red carpet affair. But the World Food Prize, as it was conceived of in 1986 by Dr. Norman Borlaug and philanthropist John Ruan, they wanted to create a prize that would be the Nobel Prize of food. And this prize really has become that. It struggled for a few years, but in recent years, its prestige and importance has really grown with each passing year. And there are dignitaries coming to this award ceremony from all over the world tonight. Good evening. I'm Charity Nebbe. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. The award ceremony taking place in the House Chamber of the state capitol. And this evening there are guests from all over the state of Iowa, all over the nation, and all over the world here with us tonight. We will hear from Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, who is the president of the World Food Prize Foundation. He will lead us through the ceremonies tonight. We'll also hear from a very special guest. We'll hear from the Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. As he arrives in a few minutes, he will share his comments with the crowd tonight. And of course, this year's laureate will also be here. He will also be addressing the crowd this evening. Dr. Daniel Hillel, who is being honored for his work in micro-irrigation. His life's work over many, many decades. He started out farming on a kibbutz in Israel. There's one of the special guests here tonight, Michael Gartner. He will be addressing the crowd briefly this evening as well. Pulitzer Prize winner here in Iowa. Back to the laureate this evening, he'll be addressing the crowd, and he wants to talk on his trip to Iowa and throughout the week as he's been speaking to crowds. He wants to talk not just about his work in micro-irrigation, which has made it possible for farmers in arid regions to grow food where they never could have grown food before, and allowed them to conserve soil where there had been such serious irrigation problems because of repeated flooding of the land to allow them to grow crops. He is talking about that important work, but he is also focusing on climate change this week. He is bringing a message to Iowa that the climate is changing, and as it changes, farming will change as well. So again, he will be addressing the crowd tonight. Really, everyone is here to honor him, but also to honor the work of so many individuals in food production around the world. World hunger, a very, very serious problem, and so many people have not been here just for this event tonight, but at the Borlaug Symposium throughout the week, the World Food Prize International Symposium. So many innovators, producers, thinkers, policymakers gathering together. We now begin our coverage. Okay, we're going to have many of the dignitaries joining us now, entering the State House chambers.
From Ethiopia, Kabiza Ijeta. From the United States, 2007 laureate Philip Nelson.
We have a lot of dignitaries coming into the hall this evening. Things were delayed a little bit with the inclement weather outside.
2005 laureate Modadugu Gupta from India.
Many of the past laureates joining us tonight.
From the United Nations 2003 laureate, Catherine Bertini.
And again, so many people, so many specialists in food production around the world convene in Iowa for this symposium and for this award ceremony every year. Some of the greatest minds in food production looking at the safety of our food system around the world. Also, many farmers from around the world have been brought here to have conversations and share their ideas and situations with one another this week. The last few days have been very much about that exchange of ideas. Tonight, it's pomp and circumstance, and we begin our coverage of the World Food Prize 2012 Laureate Award Ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2012 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony. At this time, please join us in welcoming our distinguished national and international guests. The first World Food Prize Laureate and Chairman of the Laureate Selection Committee, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan from India. From Russia, Senator Vladimir Plotnikov. From Qatar, Sheikh Hamad bin Ali Al Thani. Representing the government of Israel, Consul General Roy Gilad. His Excellency Juman Magembe, Minister of Water from Tanzania. Her Excellency Dr. Florence A. Chenoweth, Minister of Agriculture of Liberia. Her Excellency Ertharin Cousin, Executive Director of the United Nations World Food Program. From the state of Iowa, representing the bipartisan leadership of the Iowa Legislature, House Majority Leader Linda Upmeyer and State Senator Matt McCoy, with Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds. From the Iowa Congressional Delegation, Representative Tom Latham, Senator Steve King, and Representative Leonard Boswell. From the United States Senate, Senator Tom Harkin and Senator Charles Grassley. And now, welcome the World Food Prize Laureate Party and distinguished guests of honor. Her Royal Highness, Princess Haya Al Hussein, United Nations Messenger of Peace and Chairperson of International Humanitarian City. Led by the World Food Prize Foundation's chairman and its president, John Ruan III, and Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, the 2012 laureate, Dr. Daniel Hillel. Presiding at tonight's ceremony, please welcome the Governor of the state of Iowa, the Honorable Terry Branstad. And tonight's special guest of honor, the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon.
For centuries, hunger, malnutrition, and misery have plagued our world. Even today, over 800 million people, nearly 1 of every 8 on Earth, do not get the food they need. As global population grows at a staggering rate, the battle against hunger struggles to keep up. It was a singular dedication to feeding this ever-expanding world that led to Dr. Norman E. Borlaug's vision of creating the World Food Prize. Born on a small Iowa farm in 1914, Dr. Borlaug's pioneering work to produce higher-yielding strains of wheat ushered in the Green Revolution, preventing large-scale famine and earning him the title of the man who has saved more lives than any other person who has ever lived. Shortly after receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970, Dr. Borlaug embarked on a mission to recognize and inspire those individuals who lead the fight against world hunger. And in 1986, the World Food Prize was born. The first World Food Prize was awarded in 1987 to Dr. M.S. Swaminathan of India. However, just 3 short years later, the future of the World Food Prize was in serious doubt after corporate restructuring ended financial support for the prize. Dr. Borlaug would once again have to find a sponsor. This time, his search led him back to Iowa and toward the formation of a partnership that would forever change the World Food Prize. Noted businessman and philanthropist John Ruan, who, like Dr. Borlaug, was born in a small Iowa town in 1914, had a long-standing vision that Iowa be seen as the agricultural capital of the world. Thus, a resonant chord was struck in Ruan, and in 1990, he announced his intent to bring the prize to Iowa, thereby securing its future. In its new home in Des Moines, the prize would not only survive, but flourish and expand. The World Food Prize laureates hail from countries around the world and have been at the forefront of the single greatest period of food production in all of human history. They are responsible for a diverse array of accomplishments, including dramatically improving rice production in Asia and Africa, the development of quality protein maize in Mexico, the eradication of pests and diseases, promoting and expanding the dairy and seed industries in India, reforming the food policy framework in China and countries in the Middle East, and utilizing methods of microcredit, aquaculture, and humanitarian relief to empower poor rural women. By focusing attention on the accomplishments of the World Food Prize laureates, the hunger crisis was brought to the forefront of the international consciousness. Fulfilling John Ruan's dream, each year the World Food Prize gathers international experts to address critical issues in global food security through its international symposium known as the Borlaug Dialogue. The annual Laureate Award ceremony is a night of celebration to commemorate the advances in the fight against global hunger. Fulfilling Norman Borlaug's vision, world leaders have called the World Food Prize the Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture. And so, thanks to the remarkable accomplishments of its laureates and the contributions of its founders, what began as one man's idea has grown to become the world's foremost award, recognizing great accomplishments and inspiring even greater achievements in the fight to eradicate hunger in the 21st century.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the president of the World Food Prize Foundation, Ambassador Kenneth Quinn.
To everyone here this evening, to all of you watching us on Iowa Public Television, and thousands watching via webcast around the globe, welcome. Welcome to the 2012 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony. Governor Branstad, to you, to the bipartisan leaders of the state legislature, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the incomparable privilege of holding our ceremony here in the majestic Iowa State Capitol building. While John Ruan is the benefactor of the World Food Prize is no longer with us, John Ruan III is here. And John, to you, and please stand so we could recognize you, and Janice and the Ruan family, thank you so much for your generous support of the World Food Prize. And though our founder, Norman Borlaug, is no longer with us, his spirit still animates our work. And so to acknowledge his legacy, we keep his seat here open. And we're so very fortunate, however, to have three members of Norman Borlaug's family with us: his daughter Jeannie, son Bill, his granddaughter Julie. We're so pleased that you could be here. Please join me in welcoming the Borlaug family. So tonight is a night of celebration, and rightly so, as we honor our laureate. But it's important that we always remember the cause that brings us all together: confronting hunger and malnutrition. So to do that each year, we begin this ceremony with the reading of a poem by Iowa hunger fighter Lucille Morgan Wilson. To read that poem, entitled In Any Language, please welcome Dr. Borlaug's daughter, Jeannie Borlaug-Laube.
In Any Language by Lucille Morgan Wilson. In any language, hunger is an ugly word. There is no music in hunger. The rumble of empty stomachs, the monotonous whine of a child wasted with disease, the moan of the mother whose baby lies bloated and still in her arms. Hunger is a listless din of apathy, bred of weakness, the faded brown and gray of dead leaves after autumn has ebbed.
Thank you, Jeannie, for reminding us of your father's passion, which drove his life and permeated his vision for the World Food Prize. Now, Dr. Hillel, it's a great privilege to have you and your wife, Michal, here. On behalf of my wife, Lei Sun, we're so pleased to welcome you. And Mr. Secretary General and Mrs. Bond and Your Royal Highness Princess Haya, it's especially poignant that you would be here, because it was just 1 year ago that right here we honored former Presidents Lula da Silva and John Kufuor of Ghana for leading their countries to achieve the United Nations Millennium Development Goal #1, to cut hunger and poverty in their country in half before the target date of 2015. And that was an amazing way for us to begin our 25th anniversary year. And since then, we have been proud at the World Food Prize to host Vice President Xi Jinping of China when Governor Branstad invited him to come to Iowa, and we had the U.S.-China Agricultural Symposium at the Hall of Laureates. We're also honored to have Secretary of State Hillary Clinton preside at the ceremony announcing Dr. Hillel as our 2012 laureate. But we were also saddened during the year. The loss of Dr. Verghese Kurian, the 1989 World Food Prize laureate from India, father of the white revolution of milk. And Chris Doswell, Dr. Borlaug's longtime friend and aide-de-camp. And now, most recently, we have been deeply saddened by the news that Senator George McGovern, our 2008 World Food Prize laureate with Senator Bob Dole, is gravely ill and has entered a hospice. And I feel certain that all of you join with me in sending our deepest thoughts to his family during this time. Now, the culminating event of the year, of course, is to have the Secretary General of the United Nations and his delegation here with us because of a special connection Dr. Borlaug had with the UN, with your august organization. And it was my privilege to be with Dr. Borlaug in Oslo in 2001 at the centennial celebration of the Nobel Peace Prize, when the United Nations was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, you may know that at the Nobel ceremony, it's only when the King of Norway issues the proclamation that the ceremony can go forward and the laureate honored. So we have a problem here in Iowa. We don't have a king, but we do have a governor. And so now, to issue the official laureate proclamation, please welcome the governor of Iowa, the Honorable Terry Branstad.
I'm pleased to say that, like Dr. Borlaug, I'm of Norwegian descent. But I want to thank Ambassador Quinn for his very nice introduction and for his great leadership of this wonderful event. On behalf of the people of Iowa, I want to express my warmest welcome to all of our visitors from across the United States and from around the globe who have traveled to Des Moines for this World Food Prize celebration. Mr. Secretary General, it is an enormous honor for me to personally welcome you to our beautiful Capitol building for this ceremony. In Iowa, we have enormous pride in the role that we have played historically in bringing food to people all around the world. Given your personal leadership and special role that the United Nations plays to reduce hunger and poverty, it seems truly fitting that you should visit us for this special ceremony, and you also brought rain. Thank you. We also want to make a special reference to the work of Her Royal Highness Princess Haya, the United Nations Messenger of Peace, and the UN World Food Program head, which is headed by Ambassador Cousin, and she came all the way from Rome to be here, so thank you. Both of them are here tonight, and we are very honored. To John Ruan and the Ruan family members that are present, I want to express my great respect and appreciation for all that your father, John Ruan Sr., did to bring the World Food Prize to Iowa and to give it at home right here in this beautiful agricultural heartland of America. I clearly remember the bipartisan public-private partnership that we established at that time in order to keep alive Dr. Borlaug's creation of the World Food Prize. Over the past 2 decades, with your leadership and support, the World Food Prize has grown so that it is now seen by leaders around the world as the foremost international award for combating hunger. Dr. Norman E. Borlaug, the Iowan who founded the World Food Prize, did so with hope that it would become to be seen as the equivalent of the Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture. Dr. Borlaug is truly one of our state's and our country's greatest heroes, and we are so pleased that members of the Borlaug family are here with us this evening. But I know that Dr. Borlaug is also a hero of the United Nations. That is why I'm so pleased that Secretary General, that you could be here with us tonight to present Dr. Daniel Hillel with the World Food Prize that Dr. Borlaug created. Many years ago, I had the honor of visiting Israel, and I saw the drip irrigation system and what it was doing to make it possible to grow food in places that were too arid previously to do so. And in order for this award to be presented, it's necessary for me to sign this proclamation. And I want you to know that I have done so. And it is therefore with great admiration for his work and great respect for his efforts to promote peaceful interaction among people in the Middle East that I hereby proclaim Dr. Daniel Hillel as the 2012 World Food Prize laureate. And here is the official proclamation.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. That was great. Well, thank you, Governor. I was a little worried whether we were going to, have the authorization, but now we can keep going. So that's great. Norm Borlaug's vision for the World Food Prize was to recognize and inspire the next generation. And we're pleased to have many members of that next generation in the fight against hunger here with us tonight from around the world. Up in the balcony behind me here, we have U.S. Department of Agriculture Borlaug Fellows. And then we have Monsanto's Beechill Borlaug Scholars. And we've got smallholder farmers and young scientists from around the world. But especially close to our hearts are the participants in our own World Food Prize Global Youth Institute. The Secretary General had a chance to meet this evening. And they're watching tonight at our Hall of Laureates, 150 students from across Iowa. And there's the, there they are with empty chairs. That's it. Yeah. I guess, you know, it's the same trouble you have your kids, you know. You think you know where they are, and suddenly they're gone. Anyway, they're from across Iowa, 25 states, 5 countries, and this program's really grown tremendously in size, and since Norm and John founded it 20 years ago. And I could go on and on and on, but I think this video can tell the story much better.
One of the defining moments of the Global Youth Institute for me was getting to talk to rural African farmers, because I had never been out of the country before, and it totally took me out of my borders even though I was still in the US.
This summer, I conducted a research project on detecting and analyzing the nutritional content in soybeans to improve soy products to benefit human health.
I not only found mentors, I found my role models, I found the real heroes of society. And I was able to interact with them on a day-to-day basis.
All across the United States, hundreds of high school students just like these are starting on their own paths to join the fight against hunger through the World Food Prize youth education programs. The wide array of programs aims to educate and inspire the next generation of great scientific and humanitarian leaders. That was the shared vision of Nobel Peace Prize winner and World Food Prize founder Dr. Norman E. Borlaug and Des Moines entrepreneur and philanthropist John Ruan when they created the Global Youth Institute in 1994. Since then, the World Food Prize education programs have grown to be recognized as among the most innovative in the world. The Youth Institute, which introduces students to global food security issues, has expanded nationally, and premier internship programs both in the U.S. and abroad provide promising young men and women first-hand experiences in the field and the chance to build upon their interest and interact with the world's foremost leaders and scientists. Each year, through the World Food Prize Youth Institute, high school students and their teachers explore and learn about the ever-increasing worldwide demand for food and the complexity of issues that affect food security, from water scarcity to gender equality. Students research and write papers about these pressing global challenges and gather at regional and state youth institutes to present their findings and discuss solutions with their peers, local, state, and international experts. The top students from across the United States then travel to Des Moines each October with their high school teachers to participate as delegates in the Global Youth Institute. Held in conjunction with a presentation of the $250,000 World Food Prize and the Borlaug Dialogue International Symposium, students and teachers participate in World Food Prize events and are immersed in an exchange of ideas with the world's top agriculture experts, research scientists, industry leaders, and heads of state leading the fight against hunger. Students who participate can then apply to become Borlaug Ruan International interns. Each summer, over 20 students are sent on life-changing 2-month research assignments in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. They work alongside leading research scientists in the field and laboratory to solve the most significant issues facing agriculture and the environment, economic development, and human health. Once in college, these exceptional young men and women may also become Wallace Carver interns, a unique opportunity to collaborate with prominent American scientists and policymakers through paid internships at USDA research centers and offices across the United States. Through this innovative program, talented students in agriculture, life sciences, and other fields critical to the fight against hunger learn firsthand to analyze agricultural and economic policy, assist in the management of food, nutrition, and rural development programs, and take part in groundbreaking field and laboratory-based research.
This experience has changed my life in numerous ways. It's made me consider majors I never thought I would consider 5 years ago. It's made me consider issues that weren't at the top of my list. And it added a whole different aspect to my life, and it really changed the course of where I wanted to be and where I want to be in 10 years. Because now I know that I want to be a fighter in this fight. I want to be in the ring, taking down food insecurity and really helping those around the world.
Well, as you just saw, the signature element of our youth program is our Borlaug Ruan International Internship Program. Each year we send 20 17 and 18-year-olds put them on plane and send them off to Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America to work at international agricultural research centers, such as that of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan in Chennai, India, here. And 12 of them, of those Borlaug Ruan interns, are supposed to be here tonight, and I'm afraid to look over here to see whether they're here or not. Ah, they're here, okay. Wave to everybody, let them know you're here, so. Whew. Thank goodness. Each October, we present special awards to 2 of these Borlaug Ruan interns whose work was judged to best reflect their scientific excellence and cross-cultural understanding. And here to present these awards, please welcome a member of our World Food Prize Council of Advisors, Pulitzer Prize winner, Michael Gartner.
The recipient of the 2012 Elaine Simoniak Intern Award is Pavani Gorapati from Davenport, Iowa. She completed her summer internship at the China National Hybrid Rice Research and Development Center in Changsha, China. Pavani is currently a freshman studying global affairs at Yale University. The recipient of the 2012 John Crystal Intern Award is Anthony Wendt from Keystone, Iowa. He completed his summer internship at the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology, Mbeta, Kenya. Anthony is a sophomore studying Russian and biology at Grinnell College.
Wait here just for a minute or so, Pavani and Anthony. I want to tell you a couple of things. Pavani, you already share one thing with Elaine Simoniak. You have a name that's impossible to spell and very difficult and very easy to mispronounce. I hope you go on to share other things, for Elaine Simoniak was a champion of equal rights and civil rights and human rights. She was particularly interested in equality for women and the disadvantaged, and she loved the World Food Prize. So all of those are good things, and I know you'll go on and do good things, but please remember and carry on what she fought for. Anthony, you have something in common with my friend John Crystal, for he cherished Grinnell College, and he loved the Russian people. John Crystal was a farmer who hated horses and dogs. He was a banker who didn't have a checking account or a credit card. He was a capitalist who kept a full-length painting of Lenin in his office. He was a veteran who became a pacifist. He was a landowner who bought a painting in Moscow once when I was there with him. It showed a teacher writing a lesson on the blackboard. It said, he impishly told me as we walked out, "First, kill all the landlords." And he was a well-off man who spent his final years as a squatter in Joe Rosenfield's apartment. He believed in freedom, he believed in agriculture, and he believed in the goodness of people, or at least most people. He once told me never to trust a man with a big rear end, but you can ignore that, Anthony. But I hope you'll go on to believe in freedom and agriculture and the goodness of people, and of course, to cherish Iowa and Grinnell College. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. That's just wonderful. Now, at the World Food Prize, we believe that music and the arts can be a powerful weapon in the struggle against hunger. It's for this reason that we've commissioned so many pieces of original artwork for the World Food Prize Hall of Laureates, and why we always include live performances in this laureate award ceremony. And in the music that we choose for this ceremony, we try to feature pieces that are of special significance to our laureate or to our special guests of honor. Now, we were planning this ceremony. I was having trouble trying to figure out what kind of music we could have that would reflect Daniel being from Israel, Secretary General being from Korea, Princess Haya being from Jordan and Dubai. And then I'm scratching my head, and then it dawned on me, they all have something in common: New York City. After all, the UN is on the east side of Manhattan, and Princess Haya is a UN messenger of peace, and Daniel Hillel teaches at Columbia on the west side, up in Morningside Heights. And so I said, oh, I'll get some music from New York. But then I remember, you know, I'm a former New Yorker myself, and I remembered how intense the rivalry between the East Siders and the West Siders could be, just like in Des Moines, right? So, and that's an inside Iowa joke. So I said, I've got to find something that both the East Siders and the West Siders from New York could agree on. And then I remembered that right in the heart of the city, right behind the New York City Public Library, is a beautiful little park called Bryant Park. And it's not only a beautiful place, it's an inspiration for a marvelous group of classical musicians. So here to play the finale from Antonin Dvorak's Vivace ma non troppo from String Quartet in F major, please welcome from New York City, the Bryant Park Quartet. Wow. Wow, wasn't that wonderful? Now, while the quartets from New York City, the music they played has a very special significance for the state of Iowa, because it was inspired in the 1890s when that great Czech composer, Antonin Dvorak, was in residence in Iowa, in the little town of Spillville, not very far from the town of Cresco, where Norman Borlaug was born and raised. And it was there that Dvorak had the inspiration for his epic composition, the New World Symphony. And the symphony so captured the spirit of discovery and innovation that permeated the American heartland. You could just hear it in that music. And it was that same spirit that Dr. Borlaug carried with him during his work in Mexico, and that led him to a special connection to the United Nations. For it was the UN Food and Agriculture Organization that had just been formed in 1960 that contacted Dr. Borlaug and urged him to go from Mexico, where he was with his family, to the Middle East and South Asia as they faced massive famine. And we should bear that connection in mind as I tell you about the Secretary General who's here with us tonight. Ban Ki-moon is the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations. His career encompasses many years of service in government and on the global stage, including service as his country's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And in 1999, he served as chairman of the Preparatory Commission for the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization. And the Secretary General has also been actively involved in promoting peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. He holds a degree in international relations from Seoul National University and a master's degree in public administration from the Harvard Kennedy School. But while these aspects of the Secretary General's life are well known, there's something that not so many know. That like Norman Borlaug and like John Ruan, he was born in a small farming village. And like them, he started from very humble origins and lived through the difficulties and travail of war. but through his dedication and hard work, he has risen to the pinnacle of global leadership. It's therefore a profound honor and great personal privilege for me to introduce to you the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, thank you very much for your very kind introduction. Your Royal Highness Haya bint Al Hussein, Governor Terry Branstad, Senator Charles Grassley, Senator Tom Harkin, Mr. John Ruan III, Chairman, World Food Prize, distinguished members of the Diplomatic Corps, honorable representatives and local officials, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor and pleasure to visit Des Moines, Iowa, the heartland of America. This great city and state figure prominently in the popular imagination for your role in feeding the world and for your unique part in the American presidential processes. I'm glad to see some of this for myself these days. It is an honor for me to be here for the awarding of the World Food Prize, the world's top recognition of achievement in the battle against the hunger. The United Nations is glad to join in our voice to yours in paying tribute to a remarkable scientist, Dr. Daniel Hillel. His work has transcended boundaries to help millions of farmers grow more crop per drop of water in some of the driest places of the earth. Sadly, this year, Iowans themselves know what it is like to live without water and without rain. Even though it rained today on the occasion of my visit, I was told by Governor that you should have come a little bit earlier. This is what the Senator also told me, Senator Harkin told me. I promise you that I'll come during summertime next year. The effects of the drought in the United States are reverberating around the globe. When corn and soybean yields decline in Iowa, when shriveled stalks replace full silos, the world too feels pain. Commodity markets are churned with the volatility. Prices spike up, and the ability of families to feed their children goes down. Iowa is that important. Iowa nourishes the world. The current crisis, however, is different. We have learned important lessons. More countries have put safety nets in place. There has been less panic buying and fewer trade restrictions. Nations are also investing more in agriculture and strengthening international cooperation. So many people in this audience tonight are contributing to the response. Her Royal Highness Princess Haya bint Al Hussein, in her role as a UN messenger of peace, has lobbied hard to end hunger and poverty. Senators, representatives, and other United States officials continue to make the Food for Peace program a staple of your overseas aid, including as a top contributor to the World Food Program. You are being true to the legacy of Dr. Norman Borlaug, who knew that with the right tools, even the most marginalized people on earth can escape the curse of extreme hunger and poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, the 3 UN food agencies based in Rome, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, the World Food Program, WFP, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, jointly released the latest State of Food Insecurity report. It found that 870 million people are undernourished. Thanks to international efforts and better data, that number is lower than previous estimates, but it is still unconscionably high. In our world of plenty, no one should live in hunger. No child should have his growth stunted by malnutrition. No child should have her opportunity for a better life curtailed even before she is born, because her mother was undernourished. On my way here today, I had the pleasure of visiting the World Food Prize Hall of Laureates. The exhibit includes a quote from Dr. Borlaug. I quote, "Food is the moral right of all who are born into this world." I agree. This is a matter of fundamental human rights, the right to food. It is a question of fairness. Some of us live in great prosperity, but many more live on the margins. These disparities are growing and they are dangerous. It is also a question of access. Access to the benefits of research and technology, and to land, finance, infrastructure, and markets. There has been important progress towards the Millennium Development Goals of reducing by half the proportion of people who suffer from hunger. I thank all those involved with the World Food Prize for generating some of the ideas that fed into the very creation of the MDGs. As the 2015 deadline approaches fast, progress in improving food security has slowed and stalled in many regions. The food and financial crisis have taken an especially heavy toll in sub-Saharan Africa. Nearly 1 in 5 children under age 5 in the developing world is underweight. Yet we draw hope from contributions like those of this year's honorees. Imagine trying to coax crops out of the dry ground of the Middle East. Imagine knowing that the only sources of water are a seasonal trickle and the occasional downpour. Imagine knowing that your country's fate could be reduced to a simple equation, produce or perish. Some might have sought more fertile ground elsewhere or gone into an entirely different line of work. Not Daniel Hillel. He stared hard at these circumstances. Instead of waiting for a rainstorm, he had a brainstorm. His irrigation system made the Negev desert a source of sustenance for Israel. Today, drip irrigation is making the desert bloom on 6 million hectares of arid land in more than 30 countries. The 52 nominations of Dr. Hillel for the prize included submissions from Egypt, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates. His achievement started as a technical innovation, but it has made the signal contribution to global harmony, stability, and peace. Ladies and gentlemen, today, the bleak face of hunger is especially visible in the Sahel. The region is gripped by its third drought in a decade. Crime, terrorism, and conflict are spreading, preying on countries mired in hunger, poverty, and poor governance. There are 18 million people living in 9 countries in Sahel. More than 4.5 million people are affected by this humanitarian crisis. This has become one of the top 2 most serious humanitarian crises for the United Nations. And another one is a people now suffering in Syria. Ladies and gentlemen, there are reports of teenage girls being forced into early marriage by their families who can no longer afford to feed their children. These so-called hunger brides offer heartbreaking testimony to the grim choices that people make when food, jobs, and resources are in short supply. Last week, I, together with the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, raised these serious problems to raise the awareness of the international community, the importance of eradicating this child marriage, particularly girl brides. Starting from even 5 years old, girls are being sold by their parents because they just want to save one more lip, one more mouth to feed. This is heartbreaking situation at this time. This is all the more disturbing because girls and women are society's best chance to overcome hunger. Women are the steward of household food security and health. Women produce much of the world's food, yet are often denied access to land, credit, research, and education. This is why the United Nations, on October 15th, the International Day of Rural Women, announced a new joint initiative to work toward the economic empowerment of rural women. The United Nations is also championing the movement to scale up nutrition, now active in 30 countries. The abbreviation of this scale up nutrition is SUN. This is sun. We are trying to give sun rays to all these people, undernourished people. This has gotten wide support, and this has become one of the most successful partnerships United Nations has launched. 2 of its leaders are in the audience tonight. Dr. Helen Gale, President and CEO of CARE USA, and Ms. Otharin Cousin, Executive Director of the World Food Program. They are just some of the remarkable individuals involved in this effort, several of whom are speaking at the Bollag Dialogue this week. Earlier this year, I launched the Zero Hunger Challenge, which is now the focus of our high-level task force on food security, which I'm chairing. The challenge requires action on 5 fronts. 1, ensuring access to food. 2, ending child food stunting. 3, doubling the productivity and income of smallholder farmers. 4, building sustainable food systems that ensure food safety and protect the environment. And finally, reducing food waste. Iowans know better than anyone the hard work and sacrifice that go into producing our food. Waste, be it in field, factory, or kitchen, is tragic. Ladies and gentlemen, these different initiatives share the same objectives: ending hunger in our lifetime. Achieving this goal depends on forging partnership that makes a difference. It calls for harnessing the creativity of scientists and economists, including World Food Prize laureates. It requires developing new approaches and technologies to respond to climate change, water scarcity, and desertification. It means strengthening resilience in the face of price and market shocks. It compels us to inspire new generations to take up the struggle. I'm glad to note that the World Food Prize Global Youth Institute is such an active part of these annual proceedings. Ending hunger also requires a better global governance. As we gather here, more than 1,000 representatives of governments, civil society, the private sector, and scientific community are meeting in Rome to continue strengthening the Committee on World Food Security so that it fulfills its vital work. The world's hungry also need political leaders who prioritize access and nutrition. The World Food Prize recognized this with the last year's award to former President Lula of Brazil and Kufuor of Ghana. You also did so in 2008 with the award to former Senators George McGovern and Bob Dole. I sincerely wish that Senator George McGovern will recover as soon as possible. Our thoughts today are with Senator McGovern's family as they gather around him in a hospice center in South Dakota. We at the United Nations have tremendous admiration for his contributions to the battle against the global hunger. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in more than 5 years as Secretary General, I have seen the progress that is possible when leaders take an issue seriously. And in my own life, I have seen the transformation that can happen with solidarity from abroad and hard work at home. I grew up hungry and poor in a country devastated by war. With the generous assistance of the United Nations, United States, Korea got itself on the path to recovery. Before long, our bellies were full, our bodies were nourished. We regained our strength and set off on building a better future. We then started helping others to do the same. Ending hunger and malnutrition can be done. It is the right thing to do, smart thing to do, the necessary thing to do. It is what we must do. After all, the world has enough food to feed every woman, man, and child. Thank you for your commitment to this cause. The United Nations looks forward to working even more closely with you to realize this great goal and banish the demon of hunger from our world. I count on your strong leadership and commitment, and I thank you for this great opportunity to addressing you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Secretary General, thank you for that historic address and for your presence tonight and for the wonderful leadership that you and the United Nations are playing in this struggle to not only confront hunger, but to fulfill Norman Borlaug's dream that together we can one day eradicate hunger from the face of the earth. And so having you here tonight is so meaningful in that regard. But just as you strive to bring people together across political divisions, our 2012 World Food Prize laureate this year is being honored not only for his scientific achievements, but also for his efforts to bring people together across political and religious divides to promote development. This is Daniel Hillel's story.
For centuries, farmers have endeavored to bring the harsh, arid lands of the Middle East to life. Successive generations flooded the desert, allowed it to dry out, and then flooded it again, in an endless effort to have their crops flourish. Always with the hope that a more sustainable way could be found. Born in Los Angeles in 1930, Daniel Hillel was just 1 year old when, following his father's death, his family embarked on a voyage halfway around the world to Palestine. At an early age, Daniel was sent to live on a kibbutz, where he first learned to love and respect the land.
And I remember myself as a child of 8 or 9 years of age, holding a little spade and directing the frothing waters running along a ditch to these thirsty plants as the water was seeping into this dry soil and softening the clods. This fascinated me.
After earning a master's degree at Rutgers University before the age of 20, Daniel returned to the new nation of Israel in 1951. There, he became involved in drawing the first maps of the country's water and soil resources for the Ministry of Agriculture. Daniel next joined a small group of pioneers on an adventure that would alter the course of his life. He moved to a nascent agricultural settlement, Sde Boker, in the desert of the Negev highlands, an area that had not been agriculturally productive for centuries. The work was hard and the area dangerous at times. But as he studied the water and soils, Daniel Hillel gradually learned to understand the dry climate and desolate land. Then, a chance meeting with David Ben-Gurion, the first Prime Minister of Israel, would launch Daniel Hillel's global career.
We were building a barn, when we suddenly saw a convoy of military vehicles, and among the military vehicles was a black limousine chugging through the dust on the unpaved road. It was a dirt road. And suddenly this entire convoy stopped, and out stepped this man with frizzy white hair, whom we instantly recognized as David Ben-Gurion.
Ben-Gurion, who later became a member of Sde Boker, sent Daniel to help establish agricultural programs in Burma as part of one of Israel's earliest development assistance programs. Returning to Israel, Daniel earned a doctoral degree in soil physics and ecology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He became one of a group of experts in soil, water, and irrigation that were developing what would become a radical transformation of the technology by which water is delivered to crops. As a result of those studies and collaborations, the power of micro-irrigation was unleashed. These pioneering experiments would revolutionize food production in challenging climates. The sustainable methods that Dr. Hillel and others developed saved water, increased crop yields, and minimized environmental degradation. United States Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, speaking at the ceremony to announce Dr. Hillel as the 2012 laureate, spoke of the importance of Dr. Hillel's achievements.
For 40 years, Dr. Hillel has worked to solve this problem by bringing his micro-irrigation techniques to the driest and least hospitable growing climates on Earth, from Israel to Pakistan to Sudan. Today, farmers using micro-irrigation produce high-yield, nutritious crops on more than 6 million hectares worldwide. Dr. Hillel's work will become even more important as we grapple with how to feed the world's growing population.
Throughout his career, Daniel Hillel worked for international agencies and organizations, including the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the World Bank, and the United States Agency of International Development. Of particular note is Dr. Hillel's work on the ground in other countries in the Middle East, such as Egypt and Jordan, as well as in Palestinian communities. In these endeavors, Dr. Hillel has always emphasized his desire to promote peace, reaching across political, ethnic, and cultural boundaries to help improve the lives of all people.
Science knows no boundaries. It does not recognize nationalities. It does not recognize borders. Science is universal.
As one of the great scientists of a pioneering generation, for his tremendous leadership, insights, and achievements over 5 decades in bringing life to the desert so crops may flourish, it is truly fitting that we honor Dr. Daniel Hillel of Israel as the 2012 World Food Prize laureate.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2012 World Food Prize laureate, Dr. Daniel Hillel. At this time, Chairman of the World Food Prize, John Ruan III, and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon will present the World Food Prize sculpture to the 2012 laureate.
So I'd like to invite the Secretary General and Mr. Ruan to return to their seats. I was talking to Daniel before, and I said, oh, you're going to be meeting Secretary General of the United Nations. That's pretty cool, right? And he said, well, when he was in the desert with David Ben-Gurion, Dag Hammarskjöld, the Secretary General of the United Nations, happened to drop in for a visit. So sort of coming full circle. So, Dr. Hillel, I'd like to invite you to make your comments.
Thank you so very much. A member of the Israeli parliament called the Knesset was invited, as I was, to speak, and the Speaker of the House told him, "You must confine your words to 5 minutes." He said, "I accept. But before I begin, I would like to say a few words." The few words I wish to speak have to do with the history of the Middle East, where agriculture began. Some 10,000 years ago, during what archaeologists and historians call the Neolithic period, people began to change their mode of life from hunting, gathering, scavenging, wandering about, to sedentary farming. And it began in the Middle East, usually in the intermontane valleys, where rain was sufficient to allow them to domesticate plants and begin to grow crops. Later on, they moved into the river valleys and began a process of irrigation. And it's irrigation that I wish to speak to you about. But now, regarding the prize, my joy at receiving this award is tempered by the realization that the work it recognizes is far from complete. The task of ensuring the efficient and sustainable management of land, water, and biotic resources so as to enhance agricultural productivity while protecting the environment is a challenge to our and to all future generations. That is especially so in consideration of population growth, vulnerable ecosystems, limited land and water resources, and the portent of human-induced climate change. We are faced with a complex set of problems of our own making. It is a collective challenge to agricultural and environmental scientists, as well as to farmers, to economists, political leaders, and the public at large. To meet this challenge, we must overcome sectarian barriers so as to promote international and interdisciplinary communication and cooperation. There is an important, indeed essential, condition to the task of ensuring food security. It must be done sustainably by protecting the natural ecosystem and its biodiversity. We must intensify production while enhancing and not degrading the resource upon which we and our successors must rely. Despite all obstacles, there are already hopeful signs of progress. We must build upon and enhance these beginnings in the interest of ensuring long-term harmony of the community of life in our one and only planet. A view of our Earth from space should help us to restore the true perspective. It shows the planet whole, without political or sectarian boundaries. How beautiful, how colorful, how delicate is this ball of lapping waters, floating continents, and swirling clouds gliding in a thin veil of air. And how small and solitary is this one and only home of ours. How unique its life-generating attributes, and how vulnerable its biosphere, its soil, its water, its air, and its interlinked ecosystems. We must listen to its signs of distress, for it is our parent, and we are all its dependent children. I thank you all for giving me this opportunity to express what is in my mind and in my heart. At this memorable moment, I wish to pay tribute to the inspiring legacy of Dr. Norman Borlaug, and in Israel to engineer Simcha Bless, to the leadership of Dr. Swaminathan, and Ambassador Kenneth Quinn, the generous support of Mr. John Ruan III and his family, and the kindness and diligence of the entire World Food Prize family. I must also thank Dr. Pedro Sanchez of Columbia University's Earth Institute, the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York, which has been my professional base for well over a decade, and specifically my colleague, Dr. Cynthia Rosenzweig, and my many other colleagues and students throughout the world, they number many hundreds now, who continue to work to enhance our environment and its community of life in a changing world. In a larger context, I laud the many who toil in the field to feed humanity and manage our common resources. Finally, and most specifically, I am grateful for the love and support of my wife, Professor Michal Artzi, and of our beloved children. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was magnificent. You created another World Food Prize memory. Please sit down. We're not done with you yet. So we like to have a surprise at the end of the program for our laureate. And so to close the ceremony, we're going to hear from yet another person who's known for building bridges, for going across boundaries, whose voice reaches across borders in the Middle East and around the world. We're proud to have with us one of Israel's most successful international singers and songwriters, born to parents of Yemenite origin. She has flown here from Israel with her musical collaborator, Gil Dor. She's already sold over 1.5 million albums worldwide and performed in some of the world's most prestigious venues. She engages in numerous social activities and peace projects, and she's Israel's first goodwill ambassador for the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Perfect, right? Here with a tribute to Dr. Hillel, the internationally acclaimed recording artist from Israel, your surprise, Noah.
does my north connect to my south? How does my heart connect to my mouth? How does my skin connect to my soul? Is the sum of my parts anything whole? What do my eyes reveal of my dreams? How can I laugh when inside I scream? What does my song connect to my name? Can they be ever one and the same? And I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I wanna set my insides loose, come to terms and sign a truce. If I can't find the mystery code, how will I ever carry this load? And I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I know you're getting tired of the fight to connect my left side with your right, to connect two arms and legs in all four chambers of the heart, and understand forever who we How can we live with anguish and fear? How can we shelter all that is dear? How can we take our fate in our hands? I'm talking to you. You'll understand that I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you. The universe begins with you and I. Universe begins with you and I. You and I. Universe begins with you and I. Universe begins with you and I. You and I. Universe begins with you and I. Whoa, universe begins with you and I. You and I. Universe begins with you and I. Universe begins with you and I. You and I. You and I. Thank you. תודה רבה. Thank you. תודה רבה. תודה. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I cannot express to you how emotional I am and how honored I feel to be able to perform for you here this evening
honored guests. My name is Achinoam Nini, or internationally known as Noah, much shorter. I come from a family of Yemenite origin. My grandparents on both sides came from Yemen to Israel. I was born in Israel and raised here in the United States, in the Bronx, New York. When I was 17, I returned to Israel, where I live today, and I'm the mother of 3 children. I would like to now sing for you a song that my grandmother taught to me. I was honored to be raised together with this beautiful woman. My children as well are raised by her. She's now 90 years old and still going very strong. This beautiful song is tribute to the spirit, the strong spirit of women who often have to overcome such great adversity in order to survive. I would like to dedicate it to Princess Haya sitting here. I'm so happy to be able to perform for her and for all of the honored guests from the Middle East. And tribute again to the strong and courageous women of our region.
ومسحكم تبيوني بالبقار والرنم ولما لفتني بالبقار والرنم ولما لفتني يا مابا ولو جاكم الدار في الليل يا مابا ولو جاكم الدار في الليل لا ذا زبونهم مطر يرد ماطني سن لا ذا زبونهم مطر يرد ماطني سن. Oh Father, Mother, don't make me marry him for money. I love another whose eyes are kind and lips are honey. The cattle grazing fields are free, so why in bondage me? Your cows and oxen can be sold, do not enslave my soul. Oh Father, Mother, your nights are stormed with rain and thunder. Oh Father, Mother, your nights are stormed with rain and thunder. The water gushing from the sky is teardrops from my eyes. The thunder tearing skies apart, the beating of my heart. Thank you. Tadalba. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Hillel, you have based your work on finding creative ways to irrigate arid ground and bring it to life. How beautiful a thing that is. We in the Middle East tread on ground of great history, which is seeped with many troubles, and in these days has become hardened with fear and suspicion. But the seeds of peace have been planted. So what do we need in order to make these seeds flourish and flower? We need water, water in the form of trust. Trust, friendship. We must reach out our hands and give water to each other, for it is the key to life. And in that way, these beautiful seeds will flourish, and we do believe they can change our lives in our region. Thank you for the amazing work you have done. Thank you all for your attention. And with this message and song, we will leave you. all pretense. I'm here to say a word or two in the name of love and innocence. It's been a long time, baby, that is style, and I won't live in illusion. There's not much chance that things will change on lonely planet Earth. All that is natural, all that is free, like me loving you and you loving me, like the sweet fruit growing on a tree, like the blood-red coral in the sea, like shaking hands and sharing food, and a real creative attitude, and a big strong hug, well that feels good, and the miracle of birth. Shalom, 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 salam, 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 salam. You really don't need a diploma from any university to understand and to enjoy this plentiful diversity. You only need to free your mind of all those preconceptions. Use your mouth for laughing and for asking and to kiss. Communicate, communicate. Don't say, oh Lord, I've come too late. You're always welcome at love's gate to wash your feet of fear and hate. So when you come and when you go, the words are peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that I know, it goes like this. Salam, 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 shalom, 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 shalom. I said love and you say so simple. Yeah, but so easy to miss. So when we come and when we go, the words are peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that you know, it goes like this. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Sing along.
Shalom, 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 salam, salam, peace. Salam, 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 salam. Salam, 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 shalom, peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that I know, it goes like this. Shalom, peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that I know, it goes like this. Shalom, shalom, and thank you. Shalom, 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 God bless you. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Salam, 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 shalom. Thank you very much. Toda rabah. This is Gil Dor with me. It's been an honor. Toda rabah. Thank you so much. Toda. Shukran.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2012 World Food Prize Laureate Award Ceremony. Thank you, and good night. There is open seating except for some reserved tables, and we encourage our guests from Iowa and around the world to dine with one another and help make new international connections this evening. Thank you for joining us.
We've heard from the Israeli performer Noah this evening, Dr. Hillel, the World Food Prize laureate of this year, clapping along, singing along with Noah this evening, a moving ceremony. Definitely, it was wonderful to see the tears in his eyes as he received the award tonight and listen to the musical tribute to him and, of course, to the entire region of the Middle East and to peace and ending hunger around the world. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our coverage of the World Food Prize award ceremony this evening. I'm Charity Nebbe. Thank you. Good night.
Funding for the World Food Prize was provided by Friends of Iowa Public Television, the Iowa Public Television Foundation, and by the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust.